The Vivo X80 Pro was my first experience with Vivo, and straight away I fell in love with what they are doing with their phones. And when they reached out to ask me about the Vivo X90 Pro, how can I not say yes to this new possibility? Especially with that new 1-inch sensor. And my channel, well, if you haven't noticed, loves photography. So let's discuss the Vivo X90 Pro, what I like about it, and some things that I feel like are a miss on it. Because of course, like every single phone, there's always something. So let's discuss software. Now there are some things that we reviewers really don't know, and that's updates. I would wish to tell you how many for sure updates we will get, but I honestly don't know. So I'm gonna base my experience a bit on the X80 Pro that I still have and really love to use as well. Software updates in general are good and we get a decent amount of updates. But I honestly don't know how many years we will get. So that's a bit of a guess here, but I assume that at least 3 years would be feasible for Vivo. When it comes to software experience though, I would say that it's a good experience. The software works smooth, the software is smooth. I like the overall layout and I don't get useless big icons like some other brands have, making the overview work well, including the taskbar. One thing that I would love to see less of is ads. For me, it's not much of a bother, but I'm here to inform you and it's definitely something that I've noticed. And combined with software, I also want to talk about battery life. During the day with normal use, I can easily make it till the end of the day without any issues. If I push the phone, I get about 6 hours of screen on time, and this is with the high brightness as well, because I'm taking a lot of pictures with this phone, because photography is amazing on this, but we'll get to that in a little bit. But when it comes to a normal day, I can easily reach about 7 to 8 hours of screen on time. And then when it's empty, I can quickly charge it with the included charger. Unlike Samsung and Apple, that should definitely take note here. Talking about taking notes from Vivo. And then we get to the main subject, the camera. And I already love the experience on the Vivo X90 Pro. And yes, there is a difference because this doesn't have a periscope. But man, let's discuss the camera on the Vivo X90 Pro. Because again, there's a lot to like about it, especially for someone like me. So to begin with, I do have a camera focus video uploaded. I will leave a link in the description or a pop-up where you can check that out, going more into depth about the camera itself. But when it comes to the camera, this is where the phone excels. This is where it does so much more than you would expect from a phone until you look at the camera hump. Because then you will know you aren't dealing with an everyday phone. You know this phone is taking the camera serious. Not only do we see a collaboration with Zeiss again, but also the new and improved 1-inch sensor, giving you so much more natural depth. I know a lot of companies now seem to focus on the megapixel race again, but honestly, if you want amazing photography, this is where it is at. The sensor size combined with still a high resolution makes amazing shots, and just like the X80 Pro, Vivo is definitely killing it. Pictures that you can take on this phone are amazing, with a lot of detail but also a lot of playroom, with amazing effects on the portraits and normal mode, with my favorite being the vintage style. And the new Cineflare isn't too shabby either, allowing it to track the light source and add this Cineflare effect that looks really well implemented. This isn't something like your Instagram filter or TikTok filter or whatever. This is actually done properly. Combined with natural depth because of that 1-inch sensor, overall the camera quality is amazing and I can easily rank this as one of my favorite phones when it comes to set camera. Well done Vivo. Though I would say that I do miss out on of course that better ultra-wide and periscope, but for myself the main focus has always been the main sensor. One thing that would be amazing though for a phone like this is having the dual aperture, and in Pro mode having that would be amazing as well. So simply put, till now I love the experience on the Vivo X90 Pro.
Hey Jermaine, you said you love the X90 Pro?
Yes, Barry, I love the Vivo X90 Pro. What do you have to say again? Let me guess, you're gonna show off something else.
Ready to be jealous?
Oh, okay, I'm gonna be checked. Yep. Alright, he's gonna talk about the X90 Pro Plus, isn't he? The next thing you know is just Barry interrupting me, and all of a sudden Grant as well interrupting Barry. Anyway, yeah. Tell about your lovely Vivo X90 Pro Plus, you show off.
Thanks, Jermaine. As Jermaine alluded, I actually have the X90 Pro Plus. It has a periscope zoom. In fact, all the shots, even up to 10 times zoom, are crystal clear. This, combined with the world's best fingerprint reader, I mean, look at the landing pad here. And it's so easy to open. Now, if you want to know more about the X90 Pro Plus, head to my channel. Back to you, Jermaine.
Hey Barry, do you mind if I jump in here? The X90 Pro Plus looks pretty sleek in that black, but I have it in this stunning red color that I think people will really want to see. As I was saying, this full red leather back looks quite striking while also providing some much needed grip, so I don't feel like I always have to use a case. Also, the smoked black aluminum frame complements this red color very nicely. Now, with an almost 6.8 inch display, this may sound like a large phone, but I actually like that it's easier to hold than other phones with a similar size display, thanks to its more narrow 20:9 aspect ratio. Another thing I like is the large surface area of the under-display fingerprint sensor. It makes it easier to locate and unlock the first try. You don't even need to touch the exact center, making the sensor's surface area feel even larger. Also, with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, the X90 Pro Plus runs quite smoothly. The gaming experience is very good and is extremely stable with no signs of throttling, scoring over 98% stability on the 3D Mark Extreme stress test. Lastly, of course, I didn't forget about the cameras. With the large 1-inch IMX989 sensor, coupled with dual telephoto cameras and an ultra-wide that all have larger sensor sizes than most of the competition, the X90 Pro Plus is a photographer's dream. I really enjoyed my experience with them, and I feel like the results speak for themselves.
Guys, do you mind? I want to continue my video. I know that the Vivo X90 Pro Plus is amazing, but let's not look past the Vivo X90 Pro here. It's an excellent phone, and I know it's missing out on some things, but seriously, it's a good phone. So let me continue my review, please. Thank you. Anyway, Vivo X90 Pro. Let's discuss further. Thank you, by the way, for Barry and of course Grant to join this video. Check them out in the link of the description. The display, your portal to the experience on a phone. Let's talk about it. Now, this is rather a large phone, with it being a 6.78 inch display with a max resolution of 2800 by 2060 and of course 120 Hz and a peak brightness of 1300 nits. It has a good screen to body ratio and of course, like most phones these days, especially flagships, it does have a curved display. When it comes to the display in normal use, the display is bright and vibrant, allowing me to comfortably use it during peak brightness in the day itself. And watching videos on it, while it doesn't have the highest resolution, is great, combined with solid audio performance from the speakers as well. If I do have a comment, it's angles, well specifically one angle in photography. From time to time, you like to have that super close to the ground shot where you look down at the phone itself. And I'm not sure if it's a reflective coating or the angle itself, but it is a bit harder to see what you are doing on the display, making it a bit harder to get that composition where you need it to be on your first try. This is really the only thing I truly noticed for a very specific situation. But overall, as stated, the display is excellent. Now of course, with a lot of phones you have Snapdragon inside, but the X90 Pro doesn't have that. It does have a Dimensity 9200. Which of course is not the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 that a lot of phones have these days. Does it bother me? Simply put, no. But let's still look at the performance overall when it comes to said Dimensity 9200. So often, of course, when it comes to the CPU, we like to do benchmark tests. And I always will say that you have to take them with a grain of salt. Simply because I don't think it defines a phone. It just gives you more of an indication. Like an IQ test. It just gives an indication on where you lie, but it doesn't mean that you don't have other strong parts about the phone itself in this case, or a human being with an IQ test. But of course, I do know that people like to see it, so here are the Geekbench 5 and 6 results. But the main thing I really want to discuss is 3D Mark. Now 3D Mark is pretty standard these days because it's a good way to test how much it does in terms of throttling and of course heat itself. And I will have to say that this phone gets really hot during a 3D Mark test. It gets uncomfortable to hold, especially with the frame itself. It maintained a decent stability of 74.8%, but it created a heat that is 53 degrees. That is hot, and while it cooled down pretty fast, I do think that's way too hot for a phone to reach. Overall though, again, as stated, this isn't necessarily a defining answer on how good this phone is or not in terms of CPU testing. So, how does it do during gaming, which is something that we normally do a lot on our phone these days? Well, let's start with Genshin Impact. Overall, during Genshin Impact, I really didn't have that heat problem that I had on 3D Mark. It was comfortable to hold, and yes, it does heat up, but not anywhere near as hot like 3D Mark. After playing it for a while, I will say that sometimes it can definitely have a drop or two in between. However, that problem isn't there when I play games like PUBG. Overall, the gaming experience is good, but not the best. Normally, design isn't something that I often truly talk about, even though I am a concept designer as well that loves to design, but here I feel like I kinda should. I know, just like the divided texture on the back, people are divided about the design. For myself, I like it, even more so because of that back texture. While this is a pretty large phone, it feels very good in the hand because of the texture. It makes phones that are larger feel smaller and more secure in the hand. And while reflective backs are really nice to film with and play around with when it comes to B-roll, when it comes to having a phone that looks clean, this kind of texture definitely helps with that. At the end, the X90 Pro is an excellent phone. Yes, there are some things that are amiss. It's a shame that we don't have a 3.5mm headphone jack in it, or of course a micro SD, and I would really love, even though it is not needed, a camera button. Don't know why, but I would really love it on a phone like this, especially when it's so camera focused. Also, the one thing that I will say is that it is a shame that we don't have, of course, the 3D ultrasonic fingerprint scanner that we see on the X80 Pro. And of course on the X90 Pro Plus that does have that Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 and of course that 3D sonic fingerprint scanner. While the fingerprint scanner is pretty fast on the X90 Pro, it cannot replicate what you can do with a 3D sonic fingerprint scanner, especially the one that you have on the X80 Pro. That one is so good. It is really fast, it's reliable, and it never skips a beat. I really do like that so much better. So it's a little bit of a shame that we don't have that. Also, it is unknown for me at the moment in terms of updates, how many years of updates we're gonna get. We have to wait and see for this phone. It's a little uncertain about that, so I cannot judge that part of the phone itself. But overall, the Vivo X90 Pro is one phone that I really come to love. Especially for photography, this phone is excellent, and most of the time I will use that main sensor, and the main sensor is incredible. The main sensor is really good. I love the filters, the effects that you have with, of course, the collaboration with Zeiss, but also that vintage filter that is probably one of my favorites effects that I've ever used on the phone. I loved it on the X80 Pro and I love it on the X90 Pro. The X90 Pro, if you love photography, if you love stills, for me without a doubt, Vivo and Xiaomi are on top of that list. And right now, the best that I have is without a doubt the Vivo X90 Pro, because man, that camera is excellent and I love what you can do with it. Either way, this was my take on the Vivo X90 Pro. We're gonna travel a bit more and of course see what we can do with the camera even more and see what I can truly do with it. There is one thing that I really want to test out, and it's more portrait modes when it comes to the phone like this, because of course having that more natural depth with a 1-inch sensor, I really want to test that out. And while other flagships offer 200 megapixels, it can never replicate what you get with that beautiful 1-inch sensor. Either way, this was my take on the X90 Pro. What do you think about it? What do you like about it? And what don't you like about it? And of course, let me know in the comments below. And if you aren't subscribed yet, don't forget to subscribe, hit like and all that stuff. And talk to you guys in the next.